to explain how to use the GoToWebinar technology. And in particular, I will show you the features that allow us to make our presentation more interactive. You should see the control panel pictured on your screen right now. If you don't, it is because it has been minimized, and you can pull it back out by going to the Graph tab, which hides and shows the control panel. There is also an attendee list where you can see all of the participants on the call. If you have a question, you can raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon on the control panel, and I can unmute your line. Another way for you to participate is through the question pane. You can type your question in the question pane, and I can read it to the group or respond privately. All panes can be expanded or minimized by clicking on the plus or minus button that are at the top of each pane. In the past, we've had some audio trouble. If for some reason you are having difficulty being heard, you want to make sure that you are not muted on your personal phone and that you've entered the audio pin provided to you at the beginning of the call. If that doesn't work, you can hang up and call back in, and be sure to enter your audio pin.
Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today on our November Leader College webinar, which will explore strategies used at Lorain County Community College to increase adjunct faculty engagement in their college completion work. This is a timely topic, as few can doubt the increased reliance community colleges have had on adjunct faculty more recently. According to a report by the National Center for Education Statistics, the use of adjunct faculty has increased from 23% in 1971 to 50% in 2011 and continues to climb. With this in mind, it is important that we explore how community colleges are engaging adjunct faculty and the work that they do to increase student success in college completion. Today, you'll be joined on the webinar by myself, Samad West Keys, Associate Director of Programs and Policy, and Tran Lee, our Program Coordinator. Before we go into the webinar, I just want to take a couple of minutes to review the webinar agenda. We just had Achieving the Dream Business, which is pretty much just going over the nuts and bolts of the webinar. We'll have our presentation, which is titled Increasing Adjunct Faculty Engagement in College Completion Work. We'll allow time for question and answerings after the presentation, and I'll give you all a heads up on our next Leader College webinar. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you all Dr. Jonathan Dryden, who is the Dean of Social Science and Human Services at Lorain County Community College, and Ms. Stephanie Sutton, who is the Associate Provost of Enrollment Management and Student Success / Registrar at Lorain County Community College in Elyria, Ohio. And now I'll go ahead and pass the mic over to them.
Hi, this is Stephanie Sutton. As you heard, I'm the Associate Provost of Enrollment Management, and I'm joined by Dr. Jonathan Dryden, my cohort in crime at Lorain County Community College, and we actually lead our student success initiatives on campus. Next slide. Can we go to the next slide? So I want to tell you a little bit, first of all, about Lorain County Community College. We are located 20 miles west of Cleveland, Ohio, in Northeast Ohio. We have a really diverse county. We have suburban, urban, and rural, so we have a good mix of all. We enroll about 14,000 students in our campus each year, and an additional 3,000 students who attend our university partnership. This is a building that we have dedicated for students in Lorain County to attend 12 other colleges and universities to complete their bachelor's or master's degree without leaving Lorain County. We also have 4 learning centers. We have 20% of our population that are dual enrolled high school students, including an early college high school on campus. 74% of our students receive some type of financial aid, including Pell Grants, loans, and scholarships. And we have 122 full-time faculty and 783 part-time faculty. Next slide. So as you can see, engaging the adjunct faculty, because they represent such a large portion of our classroom instructors, is very critical. At LCCC, we like to make sure that we tie everything to our mission and vision. And we've recently just had a vision refresh called Vision 2020. Our number one priority remains to drive student completion for academic and career success. And as you can see by the bullet points, the adjunct faculty play a great role in this. They need to help coach every student for success. They need to help enhance student learning in the classroom, and they also need to help by engaging more adults in the learning. Next slide. So the approaches that we've used to our adjunct faculty engagement that we're going to go over with you today is our Adjunct Faculty Conference, which is an annual event, our Adjunct Faculty Advisory Committee, new adjunct faculty job description, a new role we created called Adjunct Faculty Liaison for Learner Completion, professional developmental opportunities we provide to our adjunct faculty, and Adjunct Faculty Student Success Symposia. Now, many of these are new initiatives that we've undertaken in the last 2 to 3 years, and we really started focusing on a greater emphasis on student success and completion. Next slide. Our annual Adjunct Faculty Conference or Convocation is something that has been a standing event, however. We do this annually, and it's the week before classes begin every August. We have the full convocation for the campus community, particularly those that are full-time, on Wednesday. But we offer an evening session for the adjunct faculty and also a Saturday morning option. To encourage our adjunct faculty to attend, we, of course, provide them with a meal. We go over the same presentation, sometimes a reduced version of it, as our main convocation. And our president is also present to present that address. Our provost is there and all of the deans. So we really do make it a highlighted event that is very prestigious and very important on our campus. We also have a presentation of our Adjunct Faculty Awards at our Adjunct Faculty Convocation and Conference every year. We have service awards that we award to those who have 5, 10, or more years of service as an adjunct faculty member. And then we have outstanding adjunct faculty awards in each division that we present. We provide professional developmental opportunities as well at our Adjunct Faculty Conference. For instance, this past August, we focused on faculty tips on our new learning management system, Canvas. And so we really had a large segment of the program devoted to lessons learned in Canvas and how the adjunct faculty could be better prepared to teach out of our new LMS. Following the Adjunct Faculty Conference, we also end with an academic division meeting where the deans meet with the adjunct faculty in a separate room and environment. Next slide. We've created an Adjunct Faculty Advisory Council with the purpose is to plan and support the development of new curriculum that's coming across campus, methods of student engagement, retention, and course completion, and to brainstorm ideas on how we can increase those with the greater adjunct faculty body, and then planning for meetings and program outcomes. Next slide. Our Adjunct Faculty Advisory Council is comprised of all adjuncts. They are elected by their peers. We have representatives from each division, and typically 2 representatives from each division. They do receive a small stipend now, and this is something that we changed a little over a year ago. We wanted to make sure that we were evaluating the importance of the work that they're doing. So what we do is give them basically 1/2 of an ILU for being the adjunct faculty representative for that division and being on that advisory council. We meet at least once during the fall semester and once in the spring. And we do typically have an evening meeting, and again, we make sure that we provide dinner for them to make it worth their while and value their time. Our Adjunct Faculty Advisory Council really works in conjunction with our division deans, the Faculty Senate president, and also the provost. We really feel that this advisory council helps provide helps promote unity among our adjunct teaching faculty. It really gives them a voice and a separate venue with our provost directly. It also provides information about instruction, curriculum, and student learning that we listen to them and they can funnel their ideas through. We really feel it helps improve the quality of our instruction by providing the context for adjunct faculty to exchange ideas and concerns, and really that vehicle that they can have their voice heard, which is so important. It also really helps us keep that communication stream alive and well. Next slide. So one thing we started to notice as we really went down this pathway for greater student success and completion and finding out ways to better engage our adjunct faculty is we had noticed that we were getting like some complaints from students that they couldn't get in touch with their adjunct faculty. And so we noticed that sometimes in the syllabus the adjunct faculty didn't even have contact hours or phone numbers listed. And so we kind of looked at the expectations we have for adjunct faculty and really saw that we were maybe really a little deficient in the job description and that we didn't clearly define to them what our expectations for them were. So this resulted us in rewriting the adjunct faculty job description, and it was a pretty substantial rewrite. We implemented in the fall of 2014. You know, as I said, we established clear expectations and responsibility for adjunct faculty. So now we had some teeth into what we were holding them accountable for. We acknowledge that there are some duties and activities that are discipline specific. For instance, our job description is broken down into categories of teaching faculty, library faculty, and counseling faculty. But the job description really does help us prioritize student learning and student success. Next slide. Some salient points on our adjunct faculty job description, and again the focus on student success, is that they understand that they're going to have to adhere to college policies and procedures, and that they should understand what those are, including our code of conduct. There's language in there that clearly tells them that there's an expectation that they respond in a timely manner to student questions and requests for help. We also clearly delineate for them that they need to participate in the assessment of student academic achievement and that we might ask them to document that. We also require them to attend that fall convocation or adjunct conference each year. We clearly have in there that their work is in support of our college mission, vision, and values, and highly encourage them to be familiar with that document. We ensure that the course instructed and syllabus are kept current, and so they have to turn that in at the beginning of each term to the division, and they need to make sure that it's updated. We also require them to utilize our learning management system. As I mentioned, we recently moved from Angel to Canvas summer of 2015, so we really use that time too to require our faculty and adjunct faculty to use the learning management system of Canvas. We clearly identify for them the expectations to deliver course content in accordance with the course description with student outcomes. This is our official course document that details the learnings that the students will meet and the outcomes. And so adjunct faculty need to be held accountable for delivering the course in line with those outcomes. We detail that they have to participate in curriculum and program assessment as requested by their dean. So we're accredited through North Central Accreditation, and we have the AQUIP project. And so we do have to identify in some cases how they might meet, for instance, the ethics criteria, or how they might meet communication. And so the adjunct faculty is responsible for documenting that each student may have had that assessment mastered. And so we, again, detail that expectation in their job description for them. We provide information about how they have to provide course documentation and the requirement that they input at the commencement of attendance, midterm grades, and final grades. And then they interact also with the campus community as assigned or appropriate. The job description is handed out to each adjunct faculty with their contract, and it's also available for them to review online at any time. Next slide. Also embedded in that adjunct faculty job description is our policy that we will evaluate our adjunct faculty. And we do this in a couple ways. They're evaluated by the Dean of Program Coordinator, and it's really to assess their performance as instructors. So it's really a two-part evaluation. We look at student evaluations and also peer review assessment as appropriate. And the peer reviewer assessment is really done by that person who's doing the interview, who might do a classroom visit. So I am going to turn the presentation over to Jonathan now, and he's going to talk to you about our adjunct faculty liaison position and some other innovative things we've done with our adjunct faculty. Jonathan?
Thanks, Stephanie. Good morning or good afternoon to everybody, depending on where you are. I'd like to begin by providing a little bit of context for this position, the Adjunct Faculty Liaison for Learner Completion. When our campus began planning its student success initiatives about 4 years ago, our provost and our executive in residence for learner completion, Karen Wells, and Stephanie Sutton, who was also highly involved in that time, realized that if we were going to be successful, that we needed faculty engagement. And so we created a faculty liaison for learner completion, whose job it was to engage faculty, to recruit them, to participate in the planning process and in the work teams, and to also be a voice for faculty as we begin to implement these things. And actually, I served in that role. 4 years ago, I was a faculty in the Arts and Humanities Division, and so I assumed that role. And it ended up being important to getting faculty participation and involvement in the process. And a couple of years later, we realized that given the importance of adjunct faculty and the number of adjunct faculty, over 700 of them that we have on campus, that our ability to scale these initiatives were only going to be successful if we engaged adjunct faculty in the same way that we engaged full-time faculty. And so we created the adjunct faculty liaison position, and pictured on the slide is Barb Schuckman, who served in that role full-time for us for 2 years. And the purpose, as it says on the slide, was to ensure that college student success priorities and interventions that directly impact adjunct faculty are implemented in ways that reflect the adjunct faculty's engagement and voice. And Barb was a natural for this position. She's been teaching at the college for about 20 years, even though she doesn't look like she's old enough to have been at the college for 20 years, but she's taught Intro to Psychology and other psychology courses since 1995. She's been highly involved in what goes on in campus. She's been an adjunct faculty representative on Faculty Senate Executive Council for a number of years. So, and she's an outstanding teacher, so it was a natural fit for her, and she did an excellent job. You can advance to the next slide. So Barb, in that role, worked closely with the co-leads, campus co-leads for student success in planning and implementing the faculty-related goals and initiatives of our student success agenda. She focused on areas of the college completion initiatives where adjunct faculty are primary stakeholders for improving student success. And again, when you think about the number of high enrollment courses that we have, whether it's Dev Ed English and Math, or Intro to Psychology, or Writing Gatekeeper courses, adjunct faculty play a huge role in student success. So her work in this area was really important. And she attended all of the work team meetings, or as many of the work team meetings as she could, so that she had a broad understanding of everything that was going on as far as our student success initiatives go. And she attended the conferences. She's attended 2 or 3 of the DREAM conferences and presented. When we did this presentation at DREAM last year, she was a big part of this presentation. So she's played a big role. You can advance to the next slide. So the adjunct faculty liaison for learner completion was an important engagement strategy, and I should say, by the way, before I move on, that was a temporary full-time position funded through grant funds, but we realized that that was not sustainable, and so we're transitioning into a version of that role that would be part-time, the equivalent of a course. Barb loves teaching and really didn't want to give up any of her psychology classes, and so we're having to look and find somebody else to assume that role. But yeah, we are transitioning from that role being a full-time position to a sort of the equivalent of a course of three ILUs. So promoting professional development was another sort of approach that we took to engaging adjunct faculty. A couple of years ago, we got a Lorain County Community College Foundation grant, which was $3,000 that was to be distributed to adjunct faculty who participated in professional development opportunities that promote student success. And we were particularly interested in getting more of our adjunct faculty involved in the professional development activities related specifically to our completion initiatives that we had on campus, and also included things that occurred at a state level, such as workshops held in Columbus by the OACC, the Ohio Association of Community Colleges. In fact, we took, as an example, OACC had a workshop focused on contextualization and acceleration of developmental English. And we were able to take a couple of our adjunct faculty who taught DevEd English, and they really got a lot out of it, and it was important to the work that we were doing in that area. You can advance to the next slide. Another way we promote professional development and to incent that is through our Center for Teaching Excellence, both through workshops that we offer through the Center for Teaching Excellence. We have a series of workshops, for example, going on this fall, focused on tips for using our new learning management system, Canvas, and we just had a series of 3 of them that ended at the end of October, and I understand that several adjunct faculty participated in that. But we also have had innovative learning project grants. We've had $20,000 set aside each year for the awarding innovative learning project grants, which promote collaboration between faculty across academic disciplines and academic divisions, but also promotes collaboration between full-time and part-time faculty, and it incents faculty to adopt innovative approaches to improving student success and to learn about best practices and implement them. And the bullets on the right of the slide are some examples where we had some significant collaboration between our full-time and part-time faculty on these projects. We had one project that was designed to develop training for adjunct faculty related to college technology, policies, procedures, and expectations, and not only benefited adjunct faculty, but several adjunct faculty were involved in creating and developing that project. We had a full-time writing instructor collaborate with a part-time librarian to develop a project to improve critical thinking and college composition by embedding a librarian into an online course. We had a project developed by our full-time math faculty who worked hand in hand with a part-time counselor from Enrollment Services who teaches the student development course to address deficiencies in student knowledge and to improve study skills in college algebra. And then finally, we had a couple of part-time faculty develop a project to improve success rates in a CPR renewal course in our allied health area. So, you know, these innovative learning projects have been an important way to get our full-time faculty to collaborate with our part-time faculty. Okay, thank you. Next slide. one of the things that we haven't done in the past and that we're trying to emphasize now is during our professional development activities at the beginning of each semester, it's essentially a week prior to the start of the semester, we have a series of professional development opportunities, but those large, mostly just target our full-time faculty. Our aside from our adjunct faculty conference at the beginning of the academic year, professional development days really did not include adjunct faculty, but we decided that we needed to change that. We brought the Southern Center for Active Learning Excellence from Patrick Henry Community College, who of course, if you've attended DREAM, you know that they're a regular there. We invited them in to do some workshops on collaborative learning, and initially we brought them in to work with our full-time faculty, but at the beginning of the year, but we didn't get the kind of turnout that we had hoped for, and we brought them back the next year and opened it up to all faculty, full-time and part-time, and we had a much better turnout. And in the picture that you see on the slide, at least half of those folks there are part-time faculty, and they really got a lot out of the workshops and were really appreciative. And so going forward, we want to do more of that. We've offered the Council for Adult Experiential Learning came in to do some workshops on PLA portfolio assessment, which led to ultimately certification for faculty to assess PLA portfolios. A number of our part-time faculty participated in that training. We had Susan Gabriel, who directs the ALP, the Accelerated Learning Program at the Community College of Baltimore County, came and did some ALP training for our writing faculty, and I think most of the participants in that training were our adjunct faculty, and so who were compensated for their participation. So we're really trying to focus a lot of our professional development so that it includes our part-time faculty as well as our full-time faculty. Okay, next slide. I'd say one of the things that we're most proud of and has really, I think, been successful is our new adjunct faculty student success symposia that we offer each semester, once in the fall, once in the spring. And the focus of those symposia are to engage adjunct faculty in our college student success initiatives. The planning and organization has included the Adjunct Faculty Liaison as well as the Adjunct Advisory Council, who've been involved in identifying what the topics should be and deciding how it should be organized and run. And you can see Barb Schuckman, our Adjunct Faculty Liaison there, at the podium on a session that was devoted to our new learning management system. Okay, next slide. So the first one that we did was April of 2014, and some of the things that we focused on in that session was changes that were being implemented for the fall. Part of our student success work has included policy changes that impact all faculty, and so for example, we now have midterm grades and 2 disbursements of student loans, and we needed to get the word out to our adjunct faculty, and this was one way that we could do that. We reviewed with them the adjunct faculty job description that Stephanie had described earlier. Barb, who attended the DREAM conference, provided an overview of some of the takeaways that she got from the conference. We had adjunct faculty do presentations on student success activities they use in their own classrooms. We introduced them to our fairly new student success dashboard, which is sort of a data warehouse for institutional, program, and course level data. So getting the engaging adjunct faculty through data has been important. We had them their tables, sort of brainstorm activities, ideas for promoting student engagement in the classroom, and had a session where they could just sort of exchange ideas with everyone. So, that first session was really successful, and it inspired us to continue on. So the next slide. As I mentioned, data has been important to our approach to engage not only our full-time faculty but also our adjunct faculty. I mentioned the Student Success Dashboard. This is a screenshot from the Student Success Dashboard. It's a portion of the dashboard that has course level data. And so at the Student Success Symposium, we introduced them to the dashboard, and in particular had them take a look at some of the course level data. So for example, someone who's teaching Intro to Psychology could use the dashboard to see student success data by delivery mode for that course, because we want our adjunct faculty aware of how successful students are in our courses, and they found it illuminating, for example, to, in many courses, which is true in community colleges and four-year universities across the country, that online success doesn't match, the land-based success. And so introducing them to the data and get them talking about it was an important engagement strategy. And that's really just a sort of a, that's part of a broader emphasis on data that at the college. We've been distributing not only course level data to our faculty, full-time and part-time, but also section level data, so that every faculty member on our campus has a clear understanding of how successful students are in their courses. And and that's related to one of our action projects for accreditation, which is to improve course completion across campus by particularly focusing on courses where student success is below 75%. So we've been distributing section level data to our faculty, and we've created an online form whereby they can identify specific success strategies they plan to implement in their courses to improve student success. And then in addition to the course completion form, we also have them complete a general education assessment record, or a GEAR form, which documents how many of their students are mastering general education outcomes. So this emphasis on data has been an important engagement strategy to getting our faculty involved in the student success work. Okay, next slide, please. So last year, 2014 and 2015, one of the big things that we had going on last year was introducing faculty to Canvas, our new LMS. In fact, one of the, I think it was the spring 2015 Symposium focused exclusively on Canvas and strategies and tips for using it. It was really well attended. We had over 100 adjunct faculty attend that session. But we have also had sessions that focus on library resources that alerted our adjunct faculty to new things we had in veteran services. We introduced to them our early alert system. Of course, the sessions on Canvas, and we've gotten, you see the feedback there, which I won't read, but we really got a lot of positive feedback. And one of the things that we took away is that they really enjoy a series of shorter sessions that are interactive, where it's not just 2 hours of one group or one person kind of going on, but they're sort of introduced to a broad range of topics, and the feedback that we got was really positive. Okay, next slide, please. So coming up this fall, on November 17th, we have our fall symposium. one of the recommendations of our Achieving the Dream coaches was to embed our college experience curriculum, which is on course, to embed some of those principles throughout the curriculum and other courses so that students, so those principles are being reinforced rather than students just getting them in the college experience course that they take their first semester. But and so we have a session specifically on ways faculty can embed those student success principles in their courses. We have adjunct faculty in history talking about a service learning project she's using. She's collaborating with the local historical society on an oral history project. So we're going to introduce service learning. We've got a faculty member talking about mindfulness strategies to reduce stress and anxiety, and we have some adjunct faculty from the library coming in to discuss ways to help students develop research skills. So again, we're getting back to that. Let's have a series of shorter, sort of 20-minute presentations on a broad range of topics, because we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from that kind of a structure. Okay, thank you. Next slide. So, I've mentioned, course completion being a point of emphasis. It's one of our AQUIP action projects. One of the things that, we've seen progress on is our course completion numbers over the past 3 or 4 years. We've seen a 6% increase in course completions campus-wide, and adjunct faculty have been a big part of that. As you can see from this table, students tend to be a little bit more likely to succeed in courses taught by our adjunct faculty. Now, we're not prepared to say why that is at this point, but it is good news that our adjunct faculty are doing a good job of engaging our students and getting them to complete their courses. Related to another number that shows that we're moving in the right direction, and I know that Stephanie will probably talk a little bit about this. Over the past 5 years, we've seen our IPEDS 3-year graduation rate increase from 18% to 13%. So a lot of the work that we're doing seems to be moving the needle in the right direction, and our adjunct faculty engagement, I think, has been key to that. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to turn it back over to Stephanie, who will wrap things up and talk about how we're moving the needle.
And so as Jonathan mentioned, our IPEDS graduation rate did go up 62% from 8% to 13%. While that's still not good enough, it certainly is in the right direction. We are always thrilled to show this graph, though, that really since we've been intentional moving from an enrollment-driven system to one on student success and completion, we have increased our overall number of graduates by 44%. With less students every year, we continue to focus with more graduates. It really, student completion is everyone's business on campus, including our adjunct faculty. Without engaging them and being intentional about the critical role they play, we would not be seeing the gains that we're making. And they're all in like the rest of us. They love their students and they want to see them to succeed. So by creating the expectations and opportunities for them to engage students better has really been paying dividends for us. And that's really the end of the formal presentation, so we can open it up for questions and answers.
All right, well, thank you both, Stephanie and Jonathan, for this great presentation. As they mentioned, we can now open up the floor for questions and answers or to have a little discussion. So if you have a question, I encourage you to please put it into the question panel on your screen, and I will read the question out and we can go from there. Okay, one of the questions that we have is, can you speak to us about some of the challenges that you had in getting buy-in from the adjunct faculty members that were currently on your campus? I'm assuming this question I guess is relating to it's easier to get buy-in from new adjunct faculty, but what about the existing adjunct faculty? Were there any challenges that you had in implementing this new strategy and engaging them a little bit more?
Let me.
You know, go ahead, Jonathan. You start.
Yeah, I'll respond in one particular way. I mean, one of the things that is potentially threatening with the emphasis on data, I think there was anxiety on the part of our adjunct faculty that the data was going to be used in a kind of punitive way, a kind of big brother way, and so I think one of the challenges is getting across the message that this is about continuous improvement. It's not about, well, you know, we're not going to give you a section if you've got a course completion rate below 75%. I think there's real fear, and part of that fear also is, you know, enrollment. I know at many community colleges, and certainly it's true for us, has been going down a little bit recently, and so there are fewer sections out there, and so there's always a concern that if someone doesn't get the same number of sections they got the previous year, that it's somehow related to the fact that maybe their course completion rate wasn't as high as someone else's. So I think trying to reassure our faculty that this is about improving student learning, improving student success, and it's about continuous improvement. It's not a punitive thing. I think that's a challenge that as an academic dean I've had in interacting with our adjunct faculty. Aside from that, I mean, that's what is the biggest challenge I faced. Stephanie, did you want to chime in on this?
So I would agree with you, Jonathan, that it really was, you know, in sharing the data, we wanted to be careful that we weren't making decisions for them. For instance, one of the things that we routinely do now is give them their data. If they, let's say, for instance, they teach Psychology 151, the dean, Jonathan, that would be his division, will give each individual faculty member, including the adjuncts, the overall course completion rate, and then he will also give them their own course completion rate. Now, we don't make inferences as to whether that's bad or good, but we provide the data for them to make their own inferences. And in most cases, we've had really positive results. You know, as Jonathan did mention, you know, we have maybe have less sections for adjuncts to teach. So, you know, an adjunct who isn't going to be a team player on board might not have that section. But overall, we have little turnover with our adjuncts, and we keep our adjunct faculty teaching with us for quite some time.
Yeah, I'd say I think that's really true. I mean, certainly in my division, we have faculty who have been, like I say, in the case of Barb Schuckman, she's been teaching for 20 years, and she's not, she's not an isolated case. We have a lot of adjunct faculty who've been with us for a long time. I'd say another challenge related to engaging adjunct faculty and even full-time faculty is also a sense, you know, when you start emphasizing course completion and improving graduation rates, there's a suspicion a lot of times that means that's code for lowering standards, and so that's been another challenge is emphasizing that we're not, that by no means do we expect anyone to lower standards or academic rigor. It's about engaging students and looking for strategies that will help them learn. So I'd say that's probably another challenge.
Okay. Another question we have is, do you pay/provide stipends to part-time faculty to attend your professional development opportunities?
We have done that. I mentioned the foundation grant that we used. I probably didn't go into enough detail about that. We actually had an application and that folks would fill out, and depending on the length of the activity, they could be compensated up to $100 if it was an all-day event, or $50 if a half-day event. And we have compensated adjunct faculty for participation in the adjunct faculty symposium. So that was grant money. So this year, I don't believe our adjunct faculty are going to be compensated for attending the symposium, but certainly in some cases we have compensated them.
Okay. Another question we have is, do you blend trainings and symposia between full and part-time faculty, and how do you bridge the gap?
The fall faculty development activities were a blending, and we just gave the word out to everybody, hey, we have a collaborative learning session being conducted by Patrick Henry Community College, please sign up. And so we got a nice mix that way. The Adjunct Faculty Student Success Symposium is strictly for our adjunct faculty, and as far as the presenters go, we've had a mixture of full-time and part-time faculty present. So for the Adjunct Faculty Symposium that we do once each semester, that's strictly for our part-time faculty. Although, like I say, the presentations are usually a mix. And aside, we haven't had any, with some of the other things that we've done with the Center for Teaching Excellence and the January and August development days, we haven't had any issues or problems with mixing the full-time and part-time together.
Okay. Another question we have is, how are your full-time faculty responding to the CSR rates of the adjunct faculty?
Oh, the course completion numbers?
Yes.
That show that the adjunct well, I think, there's been some, we haven't had a lot. I have to say, I haven't been in a session where that's really been thrown out to the full-time faculty. I think, there's, in the conversations, the sort of informal conversations where it has come up, I think, some full-time faculty might suspect that it has something to do with the rigor of the class, but I haven't heard a lot about I haven't heard a lot about it from our full-time faculty, frankly.
Okay. Another question we have is, with reducing your part-time faculty liaisons hours, what activities stayed in this role and what activities did you assign to someone else or abandon?
Well, one of the things that we noticed was first of all that the amount of what we had that the adjunct liaison doing really could be done in a kind of part-time role. So really, it really isn't about scaling back the role. It's really about recognizing that the role really it doesn't justify a full-time, justify a full-time position. So in the transition, Stephanie and I, for example, some of the campus co-leads have picked up some of that. But as soon as we install another adjunct faculty liaison, I really don't think that there will be anything that person does that wasn't being done before, with the possible exception of attending a lot of the meetings. I mean, if we're only going to compensate what we call three ILUs, instructional load units for this position, we may not be able to expect that person to attend every student success meeting, but I think a lot of what was done before will continue to be done by that person.
Okay. A question we have here is, are your persistence rates also increasing?
Yes, our persistence rates are also increasing. We're seeing our retention rates increasing from term to term and our completion rates increasing.
In fact, persistence has always been something we've done pretty well at. What we hadn't done as well is getting them to complete in a timely manner. So persistence was one of our strengths. It's one of the reasons we were one of the 120. A couple times we made the list of 120 colleges in that Aspen list, and it was largely due to our persistence rates. But what we weren't doing as well as getting students to complete.
Okay, and our final question is, I've been reading a lot about motivation and things like stipends actually disincentivizing people to participate to the fullest. Have you looked into methodologies that make the motivation more intrinsic?
So we'll be able to gauge that, I think, this fall. As Jonathan mentioned, our last two symposiums, we had actually given our faculty stipend, our adjunct faculty stipends to attend. So this year we're not doing that. We do try to add valuable content and trying to have some of that intrinsic motivation by having topics that are relevant to their teaching and working with students. And then also, you know, as Jonathan mentioned earlier as well, we make sure that it's just not full-time faculty presenting the idea, but it's also engaging with other adjunct faculty and giving them that time to get together and make a more cohesive unit and work together to enhance student success.
I think when you know, our part-time faculty, I mean, I think everyone who teach, you know, I think it's true that, you know, everyone at our institution who's teaching wants to do a better job of teaching and to be more successful. And so, you know, I think there is intrinsic motivation for our faculty to participate in these activities. You know, this session coming up this fall, you know, adjunct faculty who is doing a service learning project related to oral history in her history classes. That's something that she took on entirely on her own because it was something that she was inspired by and interested in, and now she's going to have an opportunity to share that. And so I think there's a lot of that on our campus. And I think also, you know, our adjunct faculty recognize that taking advantage of these opportunities makes them more marketable also when they're applying for full-time jobs. We had one of our English adjunct faculty attend that contextualization, acceleration, and DevEd writing session in Columbus with the Ohio Association of Community Colleges. And it was that kind of participation that in a job interview she's able to talk about, and the very next year she got a full-time job teaching at a neighboring community college. So I think there's lots of motivation, sort of intrinsic motivation for our adjunct faculty to participate, but I think it's also good if we can find ways to compensate them, you know, for their time, particularly, you know, when we're trying to scale up initiatives in developmental writing and we need our adjunct faculty on board for the accelerated learning program training. And we need to have them come in during the summer. That's a situation where we definitely need to compensate them for the time that they're putting into that.
Okay, well, thank you both, Stephanie and Jonathan, once again. Just as a quick note to those who are attending, our next Leader College webinar will not be in December, but in January. Information regarding the next Leader College webinar will be forthcoming, so please be on the lookout for information as it pertains to that. Before you all go, I'd like to ask you all to participate in a brief poll to help us gauge how useful this webinar was. And so with that being said, I'll pass the mic over to Tran, and she'll go ahead and allow you all to participate in the poll.
Hi everyone, we are having some technical difficulties, so we will be skipping the poll this time. Thank you.
So with that in mind, once again, I'd like to thank Stephanie and Jonathan, and I'd like to thank everyone for participating in today's webinar, and we look forward to seeing you participate in future webinars. Everyone have a great day. Bye-bye.